Welcome back to the Lumiose Post, where we talk about all things Pokemon, and today we're going to be discussing this image that we had of Terapagos, or maybe even this baby thing. I imagine it's Terapagos though, maybe an alternate form, I don't know. All these things we're going to discuss in this video, but basically, you know this, but in Scarlet and Violet, when it was first released, we had this image in the Scarlet and Violet book, or Scarlet or Violet book, you know, it all depends on the version you're playing, and basically it was this turtle thing, and we all knew instantly, okay, this is our third legendary, and it's probably going to play a really important role in DLC. Fast forward a little bit to February on Pokemon Day, and we get Terapagos officially announced as the kind of mascot Pokemon for the Indigo Disc, which is the second part of Scarlet and Violet's DLC, the Hidden Treasures of Area Zero. Now, this is all super cool, but I think it's time that we revisited this image. Now, knowing that there is Terapagos, and knowing that there's this little baby Terapagos that could be a pre-evolution, a form, or just some Pokemon connected to Terapagos, and kind of just I guess, examine this image. And I really hope that you guys will be super engaging with this in the comments as well, and talk about your findings. I think one of the beauty of the Pokemon like theory community is that we can talk about things and then people will add on to them. Like one of my favorite examples is when I did my video on Mega Evolutions and Paradoxes, someone in the comments added that, you know, when Pokemon Mega Evolve, there's the, you know, DNA symbol, which really helped my theory then. And, you know, it's just one of those things that's super, like, obvious, but I missed it. And so that's really the beauty of it, is that we can kind of have these discussions, and that's exactly what it should be. It should be me presenting these things to you and being like, hey, look, I think there's this, that's really interesting, and you guys saying, well, you know, there's also this, or even saying, yeah, okay, but have you thought about maybe that it could be this? You know, I love that. So let's get right into it. This image is there's a lot to unpack here. So first off, there is you see space all around this. You see planets. If you look really closely, you can even see like waves and a boat on it and all this. And it's very clear that this is supposed to kind of make Terapagos our world turtle, and the world turtle is from, I believe, Hindu mythology, but it's also in a lot of Chinese mythologies, like outside of like the Hindu religion. It's in a lot of just mythology in general, and it's basically like a turtle that carries the world on its back. And interestingly enough, it is also often depicted with elephants on it, kind of helping it hold up the world. And this becomes especially interesting when you factor in that if this Pokemon is tied into Paradox Pokemon, which I imagine it is since they're all tied to Area Zero, then you do have the two Paradox Pokemon, the two Titan Paradox Pokemon, in fact, are Great Tusk and Iron Treads, which are two elephants, you know, so it is definitely going to have an allusion to the World Turtle, and that points to this Pokemon being a really powerful, a godlike Pokemon. Like, we're talking like Arceus level in terms of what it means for the world of Pokemon. Like, this Pokemon is, I mean, exactly that. It's like a deity. Whereas, you know, we've had a lot of legendaries that are just kind of really powerful, you know, like Koraidon, Miraidon. They aren't really the rulers of anything. They're just very powerful Pokemon. You do also have some Pokemon that are essentially gods, you know, like Kyogre expands the sea, Groudon expands the land, you know, you have Dialga, the ruler of time, Palkia, the ruler of space, all these things, and it does point to this, to Terapagos being another one of these Pokemon. Now, I think that something really interesting here, and I have to credit Soul Silver Art on Twitter, because we were actually discussing this over on our podcast, the Hidden Power Podcast, and he brought this up. But something really interesting here is if you look at this image, you can see these hexagonal plates. Now, if you look at the little baby Terapagos, and specifically when it appeared in the anime Pokemon Horizons, it came out of this little pendant that Liko has, and it formed this protective shield around Liko, Sprigatito, and of course itself. And that's just really interesting because that implies that we could be looking at this in this image. This image could be depicting, because again, you have those hexagonal shell shapes and a little like circle from Terapagos. Perhaps Terapagos is protecting something, and the fact that it is the world turtle and is depicted as such from this kind of makes me wonder if it is maybe it's protecting us from something huge, world threatening. I think that Terapagos is perhaps protecting us from the end of the world. This could be the whole reason that the Pokemon awakens or shows itself to us. However, the story will unfold in Blueberry Academy, or in the Indigo Disc at the Blueberry Academy. This could be why it does that, is because the end of the world is upon us, and that's what this Pokemon is protecting us from, which is super, super interesting. I mean, there's a lot of implications there. You know, maybe it's because of the creation of Paradox Pokemon. I mean, if you go back to the main story of Scarlet and Violet, we know that Sada and Toro's goal was to unleash the Paradox Pokemon into Paldea so that they could basically exist in our world today. However, the thing that the AI points out is that, well, if we do this, it can destroy ecosystems. You know, they're not in this time for a reason, because this is our present day's Pokemon time, and introducing Pokemon from a different time into this ecosystem could cause the extinction of many of our present day Pokemon, and frankly just destroy our ecosystems in general and the lands in general. Now, you know, stop the time machine and all this, so in a way you succeed. However, there's still the fact that there's still Paradox Pokemon in Area Zero, and specifically there are Paradox Pokemon that are able to get out of Area Zero. We know that Great Tusk and Iron Treads can get out, because one has, so what's stopping another from getting out the same way? Which, for the record, that's really concerning, because these aren't really burrowing or flying Pokemon. These are just walking or rolling Pokemon, and yet they were able to get out. That is super scary. Then you do have Pokemon that can fly or levitate, so they could just, you know, go out of Area Zero, simple as that. You know, Fluttermane, Screamtail, I guess technically Iron Bundle, he could like propel himself out with his little gun. But yeah, Iron Jugulus, you know, there's all kinds of different of these Paradoxes. Roaring Moon, who can just fly out of the crater if they wanted to. And then there's some that you see Sandy Shocks is often depicted in like the rocky areas, so I imagine it could probably like scale walls, so it could, there's just so many ways for these things to get out. So maybe Terapagos, while a lot of people think that it was influencing the AIs and influencing Sada and Toro to create these Pokemon, maybe it is quite the opposite, and instead Sada and Toro are basically, they were able to take advantage of Terapagos and use its power to create these Paradox Pokemon, or to bring them to this timeline, whichever you believe. But this also lines up with another theory I had, that Sada and Toro were trapping these little baby Terapagoses in these little Terra Orbs. That would also work very well into this theory. They were harnessing these legendary Pokemon. So perhaps Terapagos, you know, was actually able to free the AI from Sada and Toro's control, and that's why it had a mind of its own and wanted to stop Sada and Toro. Then later down the road, now in Indigo Disc, it is coming back to say, okay, we stopped Sada and Toro from creating all these Pokemon, you know, like unleashing them, but there is still a problem with them, and we have to protect Area Zero. Perhaps the plot could culminate with Terapagos using this protective shield that we see depicted in the image in the book, as well as see the baby Terapagos use to protect Liko Sprigatito in itself from Surledge. And we could see it do that to cover Area Zero. Area Zero's top layer would just be, you know, have this hexagonal shape preventing anything from coming out, and you would now only be able to go in via the warp gate, the Zero Gate, using the little warp panels to warp into the other areas. I firmly believe this could be the case. I do definitely believe Terapagos is protecting us from something, and I definitely think there's a good chance that it's protecting us from the fallout of what Sada and Turo did. But yeah, I definitely think Indigo Disc is going to have world-ending stakes. Like, the stakes are going to be super high for that DLC. It's going to culminate the entire story of Scarlet and Violet. Everything is leading to this, basically, and I'd love to know your thoughts. You see anything else from this image that you think is really interesting, please let me know. Also, if you think that maybe there's another threat that I'm overlooking that could be coming to our world, and Terapagos is trying to protect us from that, please let me know. But yeah, be sure to let me know all that in the comments below. Also, like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because it greatly helps the channel, as well as helps me know what videos you all are interested. So it's mutually beneficial. So do that. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And until next time, I will see all of you later.